del Sur. Como ustedes saben, los que nos han estado
As you know, those who have been here with us, this is a series of conversations regarding best practices and successful Colombian experiences that have been shared or are under the process of being shared in the framework of the portfolio of the South-South corporations, which is part of the 2021 South-South agenda. So these experiences that we are promoting in this second session have some traits that are some general traits. We are looking to make these the best practices to generate opportunities for the economic reactivation and promote equality, inclusion, fundamental values for international cooperation, and fundamental values that we need during these times, trying times that we're living right now. The levels of job inequality between men and women has been a subject that we've been talking for a long time. Of course, we have done those gaps, but historically, it's still a problem, especially in our region. So we have many experiences that have been implemented to be able to close these gaps and achieve greater equality. This is key. And let me stress this. Let me stress this fact. I would like to insist upon this when during pandemic times, the people that have been affected the most, of course, are women and young people. And within the young people, young women. So for us, it's really important to be able to present this exercise that we have been developing. Because we want to identify these best experiences, good experiences that have been tested to be able to present these solutions to inequalities. So in 2019, APC Colombia identified and systematized within their offer portfolio in the South-South Cooperation this experience that we are going to develop in this dialogue for gender equality that it's known with Equipari for its Spanish number. So we are started in this initiative actually started in 2013 from the Ministry of Labor, of course, with the support by UNDP, and it's a key part for closing these gaps. So this Equipares program is the result of a decision that the Colombian government makes to be able to close working gaps, taking as base, of course, an experience that was fostered by the UNDP. And I'm going to talk about that because that's why we have here Diana Rodriguez. But I would like to stress this once again. This is a robust program, and I'm going to use a word that is very common, that means a lot. This is a very clever program because it's a strategy that even though it's born in the public sector, to even if it's born from the public sector, well, we take into a lot into account the private sector, and the private sector has been the one that starts this initiative and that start closing these gaps better. So, as I say, as we said in detail, our two guests of the day, once again, Diana and Winnie. Well, this program fosters a cultural transformation in the business sector. And that's how we create some environments that provide better guarantees to women, because they're involving everything that has to do with care, and because it opens the floor where they break these imaginations and traditional roles when they said that women can only work in some type of work, which is obviously not true. I love to see, for example, here a woman here driving a cement truck. I love to see a woman in a company with a forklift, driving a forklift and doing things at the same time as men. A woman being an IT manager, for example. There's a lot of things that we can do as women. So as a woman and as a general director of APC Colombia, I celebrate that this initiative that is repeated in more than 20 countries with promotion of substantive equality between men and women. So welcome welcome one, welcome all. These ideas generate more contributions, the questions increase, and I hope that this is a subject that is not only about coordination in this space, but of course, for us to be able to keep replicating it in other countries, this really best practice that was developed in Colombia. Thank you very much. Well, Director, thank you very much for those kind words. So let's jump right into it. We're going to give the welcome to Isabela Gallego, advisor of the Working Group for Victims and Job Equality with the Gender Approach from the Ministry of Labor, and Adriana Rodriguez, coordinator from the Equipares program and UNDP liaison in Colombia, that has worked with the Ministry of Labor for the implementation of this program ever since 2013, as you mentioned. So, Isabella, Diana, the floor is all yours. Hello, good morning. I hope that everyone's doing really well. Let me introduce myself. My name is Avela Gallego. I'm part of the work of the gender equality work program in the Ministry of Labor. I'm really happy to be with you. I would like to thank APC Colombia for the invitation, to every representative of the countries that are in this call. For me, it's a pleasure to share these experiences by the Equipares program with all of you. Regarding the development in this issue, well, we have a presentation. Let me see if I can share it with you guys right now. Can you guys see my screen? You guys see my presentation? No, I don't see it yet. No, there it is. So Equipares, it's a program of work equality. Okay, once again, now we see the presentation. We would like to show you guys what Equipares is. It's a certification program that aims to eliminate these gender inequalities that we have in this society and are materialized in every aspect of our lives. Right now, regarding work and regarding labor. So the Equipares certifies and acknowledges all these companies and organizations that implement actions that can close these cultural gaps and that acknowledge a gender-based approach as that fundamental tool for development. Even though the Equipares program is subscribed to the Ministry of Labor, where we address other gender issues, also the Equipares program is a cornerstone on this type of initiative. The initiative in Colombia was born in 2012, where we saw the need of identifying some features or some traits that made us talk with the private sector or get together with the private sector as public sector. So Equipares is born as a result of identification of best international practices that contribute to closing gender gaps. The Ministry of Labor found in this initiative the equality seal, and we created an alliance with the UNDP that would adapt to the needs of the country. So we have this international cooperation from the public sector to get to the private sector, as I mentioned, creating this gender program that will allow a real cultural transformation. As I mentioned before, in the year 2020, between the years 2020 and 2014, we adopted the Equipares program. We adopted the tools, its methodology, so to have a much more Colombian language, to be able to implement it in the organizations. It's inspired in management systems. Many times the organizations want to work in a gender-based approach, but they don't know how to work with it. And Equipares presents to them a methodology to be able to carry this gender equality to their companies. That's inspired in management systems, implementing a PHDA methodology, which is planned to do. We have a loss of signal by the speaker. Thank you, Isabella. Well, from UNDP for us. It's a pleasure, and it's been a great experience, this alliance with the Ministry of Labor that is going for 8 years this year and has allowed us to develop a program that has been strengthened. And for me, the most interesting part is that it has real results, real life results. It's one of the few programs and strategies that achieves real results regarding gender. Us from the United Nations system, specifically from the UNDP, well, we believe that this is a tool to move forward in the SDGs, especially SDG 5, which is empowering of women and girls and closing gender gaps. So a little later on, we'll tell you why this is a tool to move forward in this issue, because we have real results that prove it over the last 8 years. And currently, well, from the impacts that we've seen as a cause of COVID on women, on the real, okay, over all the population, but especially we've seen not only in Colombia and what we've seen has how COVID has had a huge impact in women. A lot of unemployed women that we have right now, the sectors that employ women were the most affected by COVID. We see how we have generated overloads working in care work that fall over the shoulders of women. We see how economic reactivation, the sectors, men and women are getting the jobs back, but women are not getting as many jobs back as men. And all these aspects, another aspect that we have identified that I would like to tell you about is that's why Equipares tries to we close gender gaps. During COVID, we avoid the setback regarding gender and especially work equality. And we guarantee the fact that we are creating a community of companies that are committed with gender equality, that are working right now. And this is a company that enters Equipares is not just a one-time thing, get my approval seal and that's it. No, it's to open a door for a long process of continuous improvement, and that obviously companies that are part of Equipares do. We have a video. I don't know if we can show it right now, or just you can tell me if we showcase it at the end. That will be okay too. I think that at the end is fine. Well, so I'm going to keep telling you about what Isabella was mentioning, and it's how Equipares was developed in Colombia. The UNDP has its headquarters, the regional headquarters that started working with this gender equality seals of approval in the region. And this started back in 2009, and it started in Mexico and Chile. That started being created in the Ministries of Labor, and we start working in this program. It's really important for this to be part of a public policy. Equipares was included as one of the goals of the development plan of the current government. And the fact that it's the government and not only UNDP or other organization, well, thank you. The fact that it's the government and not just a private or independent organization, well, that has a lot of strength. Now, the government guarantees this program to have certain robustness, and spearheaded by the Ministry of Labor, we have tried to develop it for private organizations. So we start doing this work with the regional UNDP and the offices of each one of these countries in Mexico and Chile. And we see that these best practices are showing amazing results. And we start developing in 14 countries of the region. Right now, we have 11 active programs where we have involved more than 900 companies, having an impact on 1.7 million workers. This is at a Latin American level, what I'm telling you. And seeing these results, we start expanding the seal that of gender equality for Africa, Asia Pacific, Eastern Europe, and the Arab states. Right now, Latin America, which is the one that's transferring that knowledge. We're spearheading this program, and we're developing a public model as well. As Isabella mentioned, we have the regional experience and what we do in Colombia and what they do in the rest of the countries that are being implementing it is to adjust it to the needs and characteristics of the Colombian market. For example, in Colombia, we did that something that's different than what happens in the rest of the countries. In Colombia, we have a component. I'm going to explain to you a little bit about it later on. One of the features of Equipares is prevention of sexual harassment at the workplace. That's a seal that we have, and that's something that was developed by the Ministry of Labor in Colombia. So we started working with it, and it's really interesting to see how with each country we have implemented it. And we wanted to bring it, taking into account that we have people and attendees from different countries, so they can know that this is a practice that obviously that as Equipares we have developed in Colombia, and that has followed a model by the regional center of the UNDP. I don't know, Isabella, if you would like to elaborate on this slide right here. Yes, hey, Adriana. Well, here with this presentation, what we were mentioning about the strategic alliance that we have between the ministry and the UNDP, well, the ministry realized that to get to the private sector, we need an alliance that's strong. And that was the challenge that we had from the government for it to stop being an entity that imposed sanctions and to implement concrete improvement actions that could achieve this equality. It's an alliance that's been going over for two governments, two terms, and 7 ministries. And it's an alliance that gives security to companies. It allows them to be part of this program in a better way. And it's an alliance that has been really useful in the development of all the program. In cooperation, SEAL in Colombia has played special role for some countries in the region. For example, we were the base model for the creation of the SEAL in Ecuador. Right then, we traveled to Ecuador as some representatives from private companies and from the Ministry of Labor that were already part of the program, representatives of Sanofi, Argos, Nutresa, which are some organizations that were already part of our program. And we traveled alongside the ministry to support them all throughout this process in this country. So that's how we generated these practices, not only in all the region, not only in Colombia, but also so that other countries will be encouraged and we would help each other in this implementation, taking into account the best practices and the experience that we have with the implementation of this program in Colombia. That's it. Yes, of course. So this is a little bit the model that we have right now. The Ministry of Labor is the one that has spearheaded them or created the manual for the Equipares seal of approval. By being a gender equality program, has a quality regulation that has been endorsed by Icontec, which is the quality entity in Colombia. We have some requirements for companies in order to be certified. And we're the only gender equality that exists in Colombia, which has the backing from the government and from the United Nations. So the role that we have as UNDP is to implement the program and give them all the technical support for the implementation of the seal. The way the seal works is that a company or organization that it's interested in implementing Equipares contacts the Ministry of Labor or the UNDP, and they start an onboarding process. The certificate and all the accreditation, all the certification process has a cost in Colombia, which includes the allocation of a gender equality agent, We'll let you know about this best practices later on. Here, what we said, technical capabilities. For example, we have a pool, a roster of gender equality agents, which are consultants that have been accredited and certified both from the UNDP and from the Ministry of Labor and Equipares. They know perfectly the regulation and that assist the companies in the certification process. So we allocate one person to these companies that is going to assist from the beginning till the closing of the external audit. Once the company, as part of the company, we sign an agreement. We signed two agreements actually. An agreement between us and the Ministry of Labor, an agreement that we call UNDP, which is called Equality Agreement, which is something that they do with the UNDP. Once they pay this amount, we start the process. We create a gender equality committee. These committees are made up by directors of the company, but the board of directors of Equipare is not only about, sometimes we think that this is only about HR. No, we try to involve everyone, every sector, every level, and the organization as a whole. So this is a committee that, as I said before, represents the different people, and we're the ones that they're the ones that are going to lead this program in the organization. And knowing about all the regulation in the process is to base this commitment in the implementation of the program at a director level and also from the different offices. So we can reach the goal. So Equipare is made up of 5 stages. We start with the diagnosis phase. We have a platform, which is the Equipares platform, where organizations enter all the information in this diagnostic phase. We do some surveys. We do some focal groups to receive qualitative and quantitative information, some perception tests to see how we're doing regarding gender within the organization. We check everything that has to do with salaries. We do different things at the different levels. It's important to take into account here. What we do in Equipares is confidential, and we all use it only for so the company can understand how they're doing regarding gender, and they can create effective actions. We don't have any other interests. We have a confidentiality agreement so we can work with all the information of the companies. We have 8 dimensions here. We see how we do the recruiting, the selection of the staff, how we how we organize external and internal audits, the level of prevention of work and sexual harassment. We take a look at the salary gaps, something that's been really relevant during this pandemic, actually, and also the balance and the conciliation between family life and work life. And we take a look at different parts of the field. It's really important here to take into account that Equipares obviously is focused in gender gaps, but it's a program that is directed, that is addressed both for men and women within organizations. And the results that we have at a level of best practices worldwide in companies, as we improve in gender gaps, we improve productivity. I don't know if you know that. We the retention of the staff, work environment, the environment that companies are more diverse and guarantee amazing gender equality, which are more innovative, and we start improving in different aspects. That at the end, it's what we are looking for. And we involve obviously the private sector in closing gaps and the obtention of SDGs. So, as I was mentioning before, we do this diagnosis. We move forward in the formulation of a gender policy, the formulation of an action plan. We implement this plan. So later we can start the assessment phase. It includes an internal audit by auditing firms that are part of the Equipares program, but the company hires directly so they can make sure that they are endorsed in an independent way. And once the company has gone all through these phases, they receive the gender equality seal. We have 3 levels. We have the silver seal, the commitment for equality, the silver seal, and the golden seal. And we have a lot of companies that have been certified in the golden seal. How many organizations are in this process? We have 104 companies and organizations, out of which 56 have already received the in ceremonies with the President of the Republic, their gender equality seals and certifications, and all the other ones are implementing and closing this certification. Here, we have to mention that these are organizations from different sectors. We have a lot of companies from the mining sector, energetic sector. We have telecommunications companies. We have companies that are part of the financial sector. And the interesting part here is that we have been broadening the coverage that we have in sectors and organizations. So I'll give the floor to Isabella, if Isabella wants to move forward with the presentation. Yes, of course, Diana. This is a program that has a lot of best practices, and this is a base that we have achieved because we have this amazing best practices pool where organizations don't have to make up new ones. No, they already have some bases that have been applied in other companies, which saves a lot of their time. For example, during COVID, as Diana was mentioning about conciliation, last year we launched a work-life balance survey by Andy, which is by the National Association of Industries. And this survey allowed us to identify these new needs during the pandemic. And this allowed for companies to start rethinking the actions that they were going to implement to foster these responsibilities so they could be shared of non-paid work between men and women. We have technical capabilities, as Diana was mentioning. This is a very robust team. We have more than 20 people from the UNDP and gender equality agents that assist companies, and we have a whole team behind the implementation of the system and from the strategy that allows to be or to robust that from the company. This program started to grow a lot, and that's why we got way closer to the companies so that we could adopt each one of these characteristics or features. We have the SME seal for SMEs, of course, and another one for the public sector, and another one for the rural sector. And the institutional backing from the alliance that we have with the MDP. The seal, as Diana was mentioning, counts with the backing by them. And not only that, but is born from external audit that is already approved. And this makes the assessment to be completely unbiased. The Equipares seal has achieved best practices seal in, for example, in highly male sectors, for example, construction companies, especially in these companies to achieve equality for women. These are practices that we would love to keep sharing with all of you so you can be encouraged to implement the seal in each one of your organizations and countries. Thank you, Isabella. I wanted to also tell you that organizations, when start with Equipares, they start being part of the Equipares seal community. And this community, what it aims to do is what we're doing right now, is that have best practices to see that if and the communications dimension. For example, a food company found, for example, that the way to communicate themselves without having gender stereotypes through the images or messages achieve this transformation. We're working with other food company on the certification. What we do is to join these efforts and for us to create these conversations, generate these conversations to replicate best practices. We also look through our social media and events that we have all throughout the year to highlight and give visibility to all the efforts that are being done by the organizations that work with Equipares. What we acknowledge here is that companies that bet on gender equality are working constantly. And obviously, it's not only about looking for visibility, but I believe that in these gender issues, it's important to see that things work, that these efforts are worth it, and that in practice, this is having a positive impact on women and men in the work environment. So in this community, the Equipare Seal, what we aim to do is to assist these processes and give visibility to them. You can enter actually our webpage, and there you will find all the companies that are part of this community. And we are going to post best practices by these companies so they can be public and so everyone can see. I wanted to also reinforce what Isabella was mentioning. And what we mentioned before, that we have these gender equality models are regional, but each country, what they do is to develop it a little more, and that's what's happened with the seal for SMEs. Right now, Colombia is going to be the first country to implement this seal, SMEs seal. We are going to launch it next on the 29th of June. We're going to do a special launch of the new model designed for SMEs. This seal, what it aims to do is to first adjust to the needs of SMEs, so it lasts less time. Equipares, normally the certification process is of 12 months, between 10 to 12 months. For SMEs, is going to have a duration of 6 months. Costs are much less. It's through technological tools, something that is completely self-managed and reduces costs. Regarding this advisor or from this gender equality agent, doesn't mean that they're not going to have it. They have an equality agent. But by being more self-managed, we save time and assistance costs. It's going to be really interesting. We know that in Colombia and most of our countries, SMEs form the most part of the market, and we want to bet and understand gender equality. So this cannot only be a for big organizations. No, we want it to be for at different levels and sizes, so that we can implement best practices to close gender gaps. And in February this year, we will launch the public seal. And this public seal follows the regional and global methodology, and it's being adjusted to the Equipares program in Colombia.
Que están iniciando el proceso en este momento.
So public entities that are starting this process right now are going to be certified with the global certification of the gender equality seal, and also are going to have the Equipares Colombian seal. Unlike SMEs, Equipares is much longer, taking into account the nature of public entities. It lasts 18 months. And what it aims to do is to bet in two big lines. First, to strengthen the public entities regarding best practices to close gender gaps at institutional level, but also it also aims to bring and and have public policies. This is mainly what we have seen in best practices of Equipares. I don't know if you would like to play the video right now, or sorry, Winnie, because Diana and Isabella is something that has uh, has launched a lot of questions, and it's better to do it right now. I'm going to be the one who's going to ask you the first question. In these subjects that are related with gender equality and equality, people that have been working in this regard, we know that it's not easy to make it accepted publicly and privately, or in the public and private sector. A comment that you made, Diana, that Equipare is not only a seal that aims for equality for women. No, it also aims for equality as men, for men. So my question is, in a country like Colombia, where we have seen that most managers are men and board of directors are men from big companies, how have you defeated this? And I would like to highlight so you can ground this contrast that we have in SMEs in Colombia and gender equality. So how have you defeated this? Because here, this internal chat, we're having a discussion. When we talk about gender equality, the people that come are most women. And that's shouldn't be. How have you broken this barrier? Angela, what you're saying is true. And I think there are a lot of practices that we have found in companies that I would like to highlight. The first one is the board directors needs to be really involved in creating awareness. And we have men that are managers in companies that are aware of this and say, okay, I want my board directors to be 50-50, men and women. So we start implementing these affirmative actions that we call, which are either, I just talked about something that is during discussion, which are the gender quotas, not necessarily, or gender teams, and that 50% of the board directors have to be made up by women. What do I think about this? Well, I believe that in these are spaces that are highly masculinized, where this could work really well, because these are spaces where women are finding barriers, even though they're really well trained. We see cases where in a company they say, okay, for example, in a company of electricity and oil, we haven't had a manager, operations manager that's a woman, because here normally is men. So when we start fostering that, we want that position to be part of a woman. Obviously, a woman that's trained and has all the qualities that are needed. Well, that starts transforming those imaginations. Another good practice that we have found is that these companies in alliance with the university start creating these spaces that are called seedbeds or breeding grounds to prepare women for board or directors positions. So they train them in all the skills. Another ones are leadership schools for women, where we start working and they start working and prepare women so that they can take these positions. So it's all about working from the organizational culture. Obviously, the example starts transforming and specific practices to take these positions. Perfect, Diana. Thank you very much. Well, Director, there are other questions. We are here people from Africa. We have 5 people here from Panama, other parts of Latin America, and also here from Colombia. For example, we have Ana Maria Beltran Fierro that says that it's from the Foundation Woman from Cali. We are a training organization and training of women in Cali for groups, business collectives. So, Ana Maria, leave your question on the chat so we can convey it, but also we have here Blanca Parra. I'm from the Unit for Victims Attention Entity from the state, and we have cooperators that start entrepreneurships and work opportunities for women. Is it possible to have this seal opportunity for these organizations and companies? And if that's the case, who can I talk to so we can get seal? We love the fact that you're interested. Of course, what I mentioned, we are looking to adapt to different organizations, different companies. You can contact me directly. Actually, my email is diana.rodriguez at undp.org, or the Ministry of Labor. Isabella will give you her contact. And I invite you to go to the webpage of Equipares, which is equipares.org. And you will find there a form where it says contact us, where you can enter. For Equipares SMEs, we have a specific tab where we ask you all the questions about the features of the organizations, and we will get in contact with you. We have a technical team which is amazing in UNDP, and one that coordinates the company seal, the public seal, and the SME seal. And in the Ministry of Labor, we have the rule seal that is really beautiful. And obviously, depending on the features of the organization, we contact you and we tell you a little bit more in detail what it's all about, Diana. So this means that also you have opened this seal for public organizations, for public entities. Yes, we are already implementing it. We have 25 that have told us that are really interested, and 12 that have the resources to sign the agreement and start this year. So it's already under implementation with the Ministry of Mines and Energy, which
que también es un
started the pilot
ejemplo.
program
El
last
año
year
antepasado, perdón, cuando estaba la
when we had the Minister of Mines and Energy. We said, I want this seal, one minister, and I used it really well and uh, promoted this part for Equipares. Of course, the public seal is going really, really well. So we're going to continue with questions because we have other guests, and we invite our attendees to ask their questions and comments, to read them out loud, because we have the video ready for you. We're going to play the video.
Adelante.
Go ahead. Saber hacer Colombia. Know how to do Colombia. United, we are more resilient. APC Colombia, Presidential Corporation Nation. To build a better world is to bet on equalities, to listen to the voices of those hardworking women that fight for the rights and work for the progress of society. To build equalitarian work environments for men and women favors the development of the country. Thinking about it, the Ministry of Labor created the gender equality management system, Work Equality Seal Equipares, a program that reduces and closes gender gaps in the framework of each company, creating social inclusion, opportunity, reduction of poverty, elimination of sexual work and work harassment, consolidating family work life. It's a certification program led by the Ministry of Labor with the technical assistance by the UNDP, designed for companies and private organizations, aiming to reduce the working gaps between men and women. This hasn't been only, for example, in everything that has to do with hiring, but also in leadership training. We have initiatives like, for example, that in each board of directors, we need to have women at the end stage of the calling. So this is allowed to close working gaps. Definitely the contribution of having this openness for women is that it gives us way more trust that we can do any type of work. We can be part of any companies and open our knowledge and our knowledge to know about other professional fields. Every time that we open I'll open it for work, we don't think that it's a man for woman. We open a position just thinking that we need a person that is fit for the position. Doesn't matter if it's a man or woman. We keep salary equality for men and women. It doesn't matter if they have more experience. We have a position, a stipulated salary, and that's the one that we put. Cultural transformation of Equipares have had a positive impact on more than 180,000 workers. 44% of them are women and 56% of men. Workers saw a positive impact on the actions of Equipares. 82% of recruiting selection, 60% more diversity, 87% of personal and family balance. With Equipares, we are betting on the SDGs in the 2030 agenda. SDG 8, SDG 5, and SDG 17. It's an experience that we need to take advantage of it because we increase our knowledge, we grow in our working field, and we also improve our income. To replicate this initiative in all our territory is to take hope and opportunities for Colombian women.
Bueno, este era el video.
Well, this was the Equipares video, and that's part of this best practice portfolio from Colombia that we promote from APC Colombia for all of our Global South partners. And here I have another question from Frams Edith Garcia. She's asking, what benefits do as small companies have when doing this process? What benefits today? Go ahead, Isabel. Hello, Edith, how are you? Well, thank you for your question, for being interested in this talk. Equipares SME is kind of different from the big business seal. We don't have the levels there that Diana mentioned about golden and silver seal. For SMEs, we have a different program. We have a management system that is a little shorter, that is a little bit more self-managed. And in this part, we develop some actions. And at the end, we have the acknowledgement and a seal from the Ministry of Labor. So the benefit regarding certification is done through the Ministry of Labor, and in the organization, we promote these different skills, perspectives regarding work that improve the dynamics. All right, in the framework of work, having this certificate and creating these actions allows for the improvement of the public image of the company, improves the competitiveness level of the company, improves the best practices levels, improves the activities that human resources manage. There's more participation for men and women. We strengthen this leadership and we generate this contribution so that we have this transformation, culture transformation in everything regarding gender approach. Isabella, perfect. I think this question can be for you. In a way, it's asked by Lourdes Delgado. She says, good morning. I want to know what SENA, what participation does SENA have in the equality system from the training, professional training? SENA is the Colombian institution, Colombian educational institution, public institution. We actually want to create an alliance with SENA. First, we have the educational part, and then we have the part where we have this onboarding with companies, and what we want in this onboarding companies for us to be part of the strategies that are presented, so that all these companies to which we learners go and do their work can have the development of a gender approach in each one of the activities. For our attendees that are outside of the country, we have to say that SENA is the National Learning Service, and especially there's a lot of technical training and technological training in SENA. So that's why the question is so pertinent. Another question that we had here within in the chat that the director talked about, it was if you can broaden Isabella, I think she was the one that talked about this. It was about their best practice in Colombia about sexual and work harassment. Yes, actually, Diana mentioned this, but well, we have a dimension, which is work harassment dimension. And what we want to do there is for organizations to have this way of being able to take care of this work harassment from prevention organizations, so they can have that information and provide it for each one of the workers on what is work harassment, what is sexual harassment, and what best practices do we need to implement to avoid this type of behavior, and have a mechanism that could allow for actions when this happens. This needs to generate trust in the members of the organization so that this can be exercised as an effective development for all its needs and for everything that can happen regarding work harassment, for people in the organization to feel that they have that support by the organization when these practices happen and when these behaviors are generated. We have another question here from Maria Moreno. Says, I would like for the space, thank you for the space. I wanted to ask you about the necessary cross-sectionalities to not employ equality, but equity. Does the seal take into account these variables to strengthen the role of women in different organizations? Thank you. That's done by Maria Moreno. Yes, of course. From the UNDP, we address this from the cross-sectional approach and its understanding for women. We have different conditions and traits. So actions to close gaps need to address this type of different features and traits. I mean, for example, when we have disabled women or maybe people of some minority, people that were part of the war, for example, in Colombia, or we have migrant women, people that are in the rural sector. Each trait of women implies a different approach. So we need to develop activities and the territories. Well, there needs to be thought out for the impact with women in its diversity in a country such as Colombia, which is so diverse. And another item is diversity understood with this people with different sexual orientation. For example, in UNDP, we also involve the LGBTQ people. So we involve this closing of gaps, men and women, with this cross-cutting aspect and with this cross-sectional aspect. When we seen it, when we talk about gender, we open the door to talk about diversity in a broad way and include this LGBTQ approach institutions. Actually, this month, which is the Pride Month, we LGBTQ Pride Month, well, we try to talk about the benefits of having companies and organizations that are more inclusive every day. Diana, thank you. Lourdes Delgado was the one that was asking the question about SENA, and she says, thank you very much. I work from INA, which is the homologue of SENA in Costa Rica. Lourdes, thank you very much. I'm sure that we've worked together. There will be something else to be taken into account within this joint work. And for that reason, I'm going to ask Catalina Quintero to join us right now. She is the Director of International Cooperation of APC Colombia, so that she can remind us to those people that are here from other countries, how they can contact us so that we can share this experience of Equipares. Thank you very much, Winnie. Effectively, our emails, my email, catalinaquintero@apccolombia.gov.co. Contact us in our office and we can start working under the category of projects. So the idea is for us to be able to identify subjects that are of the interest of other countries, partner countries from the global south, and we can start talking about exchange or cultural exchange and also work exchange. So you can learn and we can learn from you. Let me remind you my email, catalinaquintero@apccolombia.gov.co. Thank you. Thank you, Catalina. We already have it there in the chat. I put it in the chat for everyone. Thank you very much. And well, guys, this is not the only experience that we're sharing today, but we have a wide array, a wide portfolio and different experiences you can consult in our webpage, www.apccolombia.com.co. Anyone that's interested in equipares for your country, you can consult Catalina Quintero. You can talk to her, Catalina Quintero, .gov.co. Nancy Ponce says, okay, this was really interesting. Warm greetings from Colón Putumayo. So it's 9 in the morning. So this way we get to the end, closing of our Southern Dialogues, for fourth Southern Dialogue in the 2021 cycle director for, so you can, the floor is yours. You can close this fourth webinar. Winnie, thank you very much. Diana, Isabella, thank you very much for your presentation. And just as with the closing that Catalina did, for all those representatives from different countries that are here with us, seen from different entities of these countries, you know that this is an important seal. This is a seal that promotes gender equality, a seal that is going to facilitate the economic reactivation of the country, and of course, inclusion, which is our global challenges that we have. So thank you very much for being here with us, for sharing this amazing experience, Diana, Catalina, and we will be paying close attention so you can open your wings and your horizons and more. Very good morning, have a great day, and have a great day for everyone. We have a lot of men, a lot of women, and we have warm greetings from Inex Moda. Thank you very much for the invitation. Carolina Incapié is talking about this. And well, many people are saying thank you for the space. Well, these are spaces that we have created for you, so you can have these experiences, and also for our global South partners, to share with all of you. To all of you, we have a question. Laura Queralt from Costa Rica. She's asking, this is really enriching space. Thank you very much. We want this to be an important space for everyone where we can share amazing experiences that we have regarding public policy, and that we are in capacity to share with our global South partners. So everyone, thank you very much. We will see you in a fortnight. We will see you in 2 weeks for the next Southern Dialogues webinar series. So to everyone, thank you and have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.